We're here today with Joe Rut. Yay!
Yay, Joe Rut! Oh wait, sorry, that's me.
So Joe, you are a lifelong songwriter. You've released all sorts of great music, played all over the place, places I don't even know about.
All true.
Last time we left off, you had started recording a lot of what was in the big book. Is it the big book or the good book?
The pretty good book. The good book was already taken. So
pretty good book of songs.
Yeah.
Songs that you had penned on a year-long journey. Do you want to use that word?
You could call it a hoboage.
Are you still going through those songs, or are you on to something new?
I'll probably never get through all of those songs. I mean, I just keep writing new ones, and hopefully, if you write 50 songs, you're lucky if 3 or 4 of them are like really good.
Right.
I tend to cannibalize songs, like sometimes a song you go back and look at it and there's like 2 good lines in it and the rest of it's garbage. I take those 2 good lines, and if I'm looking for something for another song, I sometimes just grab that.
When you took off on that hoboage,
yes,
it was kind of like a self-imposed residency of sorts, right?
Well, it wasn't necessarily self-imposed. I got evicted from my warehouse.
Okay.
I'd been living in a warehouse that we called the Koi Pond for maybe 12 years. I can't recall exactly. But, times changed. The ghost ship fire changed a lot of stuff for people living in warehouses in Oakland. And our landlord, bless his heart, very nice man, just didn't want the liability of artists living in a warehouse anymore, so we got the heave-ho. So I moved into my van and drove around for the better part of a year, almost a year, like 11 and a half months. Yeah, I just drove around writing songs, me and my dog Potato. Yeah, it was good times, best year of my life. That's awesome. Arkansas had a world map tattoo across her back, down her shoulders ran the ocean's blue. Jonesboro was a freckle in the center of her spine. She kept it there to keep it as far as she could behind. While that made an interesting work of art, I wonder what she had tattooed across her heart. Coming down the mountain after working on a Saturday, she saw this big white freaked out pit bull running scared along the highway. All the other cars just swerved or honked or hollered. She pulled off to see if maybe there's a number on the collar, but that dog was just too scared. Took off through the poison oak. She went back to her truck for some beef jerky and a rope. Came back 2 hours later, wearing half the mountainside. It's not just that she caught that dog, she's the only one that tried. Now if you're at all like me, it's bound to make you start wondering what she had tattooed across her heart. Well, in the Palomino parking lot where she stopped to buy some beer, they were kicking this kid's ass, calling him a queer. She stepped up all 5'1" into the center of that crew. She said, "You're gonna kick his ass, you're gonna have to kick mine too." Well shit, they didn't know what to do when she ripped off her shirt, bent down to that kid on the ground, started cleaning off the blood and dirt. They milled around a little bit, cracked a couple jokes, but no one laughed too hard, and they just drifted off like smoke. Maybe you'd see a little part of what she had tattooed across her heart. and stop. And if it's something that you're looking for, maybe somewhere down the track you'll find some place. It isn't just another freckle on your back. The whole world on your shoulders seems like a lot to carry. She said, I haven't seen a tattoo yet, it's not temporary. Well, I'm just glad you let us see a part. What you had tattooed across your heart. What you had tattooed across your heart.
I know from previous discussions we've had that you have historically had an interesting writing process to mean that you get your song together completely in your head.
Yeah.
Before you put it to the page.
Well, before I touch a guitar,
okay.
I've got the whole arrangement in my head, and I've found that if I pick up a guitar before the song is done and start, then my fingers will just automatically start playing something that I already know, and then I lose the whole unique thing that was happening in my head. So yeah, I don't touch the guitar until I know how the changes and stuff go. Because I can think things I've never done before. If I pick up a guitar, I just end up playing the same stuff I already know. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
How do you file that in your brain?
It actually works out pretty well. There's kind of a continuous running narrative. I mean, all day long, all night long, there's just this constant stream of ideas. And like if I don't write it down, I'll just forget the bad ones.
Okay.
You know, and the ones that are really strong just stick in there. So yeah, like if I write everything down, I end up writing down a lot of garbage. And if I just keep waiting until I've got a kind of a whole thing that's going on, then it tends to get rid of the crappy stuff.
So you learn that over many years.
I used to write down every idea that I had, and then I would just go back over pages and pages of that's horrible, that's stolen, that's horrible. Oh, that's a Rolling Stones song. Okay.
So when you started with the Pretty Good book, you went off, you hit the road.
Yeah.
The book was blank.
Yeah, it was completely blank. My friends Russ and Alice bought it for me at an estate sale. It's an old, like probably 30s or 40s ledger, like an accounting ledger. And it's about that big and about that thick.
So when you came back, it was pretty full?
It's about 3/4 full. I mean, there's about 400 songs in it, and they aren't all songs I wrote on the trip. Sometimes if I was feeling like writer's block, I would just start writing down my old songs just to have them in the book, like songs I've recorded. So eventually, you know, everything I've ever written hopefully will be in the book.
Right.
But
so you started recording at least the newer stuff maybe that was in the book. And then I know that the Pretty Good book was lost for a while.
Yeah, well, stolen. Yeah,
so
lost to me.
Tell us about this.
Right, so that's how my year-long hoboage ended, was my van got stolen.
Oh, no.
I was in the Bay Area for a show at the Lost Church, and I played at the Lost Church, and I drove over to Oakland to stay at my buddy Omar's house. And you know, in general, with all my stuff in the van, I just sleep in the van. I think it was in January, and it was cold, and he was like, just come in and sleep on the couch. And I was like, all right. So I grabbed a couple guitars and my computer and stuff, but I left most of my stuff in the van. It was parked right in front of his house, and I woke up in the morning and I was just like, pretty sure I parked it right there.
No.
Walked around the block a few times. I was like, yeah, somebody stole my van. So the book was in the van, and that was the only really irreplaceable thing that was in the van was the book, because I wouldn't remember all that stuff I had written down. You know, I was despondent for a brief period, like maybe up to a week. And then I was like, well, I got to do something to at least feel like I'm doing something. So I printed up a bunch of flyers, and I went to all the pawn shops, the police station, and then I started going to all the tent cities in the neighborhood. And I stuck a flyer under a rock in front of every tent, talked to a whole bunch of people. And then maybe 2 weeks later, I got a phone call, and some guy had found my book. So he said there were a whole bunch of clothes, a whole bunch of like wool Pendleton shirts on the sidewalk. Why anybody would throw out the wool Pendletons, I don't understand. But he said he saw the book and he started kind of like leafing through it. And he told me when he gave it back to me, he's like, yeah, I immediately knew this was really important to somebody and that it was my job to hold on to it. And this guy's living in a tent.
Right.
And so he held this in his tent for somewhere between a few weeks and a month. And he had to borrow a cell phone to call me when he got the flyer with the number on it.
Wow.
He didn't even have a cell phone. So he said he'd meet me at the Pack and Save. I showed up at the Pack and Save, and he comes walking up with my book and a couple other things and a little cart that was also mine. And he's like, yeah, like all this stuff was with it. Is this all your stuff? And I'm like, yeah, that's all my stuff. So he's like, all right, well, there you go. And I was like, well, what do you think is a fair... like a fair finder's fee, because it said a reward on the flyer. I'm like, what do you want? And he was just like, I don't want anything. That's not why I did this. I knew I was supposed to hold on to this for you. And I was just like, and I eventually forced him to take $100. But he just really, it was such a heartwarming moment, So I got it back.
This could be my new favorite shirt. I'll wear it a bit, see how it goes. I had one like it back when I was 7 and my mother picked out my clothes. This could be the one thing's happening, so I'll never let your cat get near it. Like my last favorite shirt. This could be my new favorite shirt. I like the color, I like the collar. I got it at an estate sale and it only cost me $1. This could be the one thing's happening, so I'll never make spaghetti sauce in it. Like my last favorite shirt. Oh, this could be the one I'm wearing to accept my Grammy. Oh, this could be the one I'm wearing when I win the lotto. When I pull the baby from the burning building and bring him out completely unhurt. Channel 2 will interview me in my favorite shirt. I'm sorry that your grandpa had to go, but could I leave my number just in case you find some more? Shirt. I look in the mirror and I get a feeling like standing up a second, crushing off dirt. Man, I very nearly got caught stealing. I hope it's not the one that we break up in, cause then I'm never ever gonna wanna wear it again. Like my last favorite. Like my last favorite. Like my last favorite shirt.
I have one that's about to come out. It's called Grumpy Pants, and you can't listen to it for free anywhere, and you can't buy it anywhere.
Okay.
The only way you can get a copy of Grumpy Pants is by making a donation to a list of things that I'm going to put together.
Oh, cool.
Including the ACLU, the Southern Poverty Law Center, Bernie Sanders campaign, various other campaigns. Whoever's fighting Mitch McConnell, you can give money to them, you get a copy of this CD. So there'll be a whole list of things you can donate to. You can't actually buy it from me. It's a collection of songs that I recorded between 1999 and last year.
Okay.
So like a 20-year period.
Oh, wow.
And it's mostly things that I left off other albums because they were too cranky or angry.
Gotcha.
But these times kind of felt like some cranky and angry could be well received. So
right.
Perhaps.
How many songs are there?
12.
Okay.
Yeah. Like some of them are just weird.
Okay.
They're strange or cranky or there's definitely a few that are kind of, hey kids, get off my lawn,
right.
type. From Grumpy Pants. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Where did you record them?
All over the place. I mean,
really?
I mean, like over the last 20 years. I kind of did duets with my younger self because most of them weren't done.
Oh, fascinating.
Like maybe it was done, but it needed a guitar solo, or it was all done except it needed some harmony. So I had to do something to finish all of them.
How'd that feel?
That was really fun. I just did that all in my bedroom.
He's pretty good, that guy.
You know,
your younger self?
Version of
oh yeah, he was all right. He was easy to work with. We were definitely on the same wavelength. So,
Oh, that's good.
yeah.
You don't really turn the spigot off in your songwriting. You said you already.
No, it's just constantly.
Has that always
going.
been that way for you?
I wouldn't say always, but definitely the last 15 years or 20 years, I've kind of arranged my life in such a way that I have the time and space to be open to things. And so
Cool.
I've just kind of got a pretty nonstop narrative going. You know, I just kind of monitor it at all times. I mean, it's going on now.
Yes.
You know, it goes on. I mean, at any point, no matter what I'm doing, there's things popping up demanding my attention, and I choose to pay attention to them or not pay attention to them, and you never know when something good's going to pop up.
This is true. And I'm very curious because you said writing down doesn't work. So it's more like you're cataloging or noting. It's a different way of being mindful. You know, because it's about memory and mindfulness and cataloging.
Yeah.
And then trusting that it comes back. Like if you name it in your head, I'm just trying to get in there.
Yeah.
If you name it in your head, you then kind of let go and trust that your brain has...
Like I'll scribble notes.
Okay, you will.
Yeah. I can't pick up the guitar or else it breaks the spell.
Okay.
But like I can't get too precious about it. Like if I use good handwriting and try to like make, the stanzas and stuff, that'll ruin it too. I just have to kind of scribble it as though I'm not paying attention to it and then not pay too much attention to it.
Does it have to be handwritten? Or can you do
Yeah, if I do it on my phone or on a computer, that breaks the spell as well. I don't totally understand why it works that way for me, but it does.
No, that's great.
I've learned the things that screw it up, and I try to avoid screwing it up. So
yeah, that's great.
That's like half of being an artist is figuring out how to work.
Yeah.
How you work.
How
Get out of your way.
Your brain's going to work. Get out of your way.
Yeah.
But set up the conditions, as we've talked about on this boat before. So it sounds like you're very trusting of your process.
Well, I mean, I've written so many songs at this point that I technically don't need to write anymore. I mean, I could just kind of just work off of these. So that actually takes a lot of pressure off, just knowing you've got all these things. Like if I ever have a show to do, the problem isn't coming up with material to play, it's winnowing out the things you don't want to deal with right now. I mean, so that actually takes a lot of pressure off my songwriting process because I don't feel like I need to produce anything. I've got enough stuff to work with that I haven't recorded yet. I haven't hit a slumpy period, but if I did hit one, I can just go back to the pretty good book and I forgot about that one, So like it actually just takes the pressure off. Like I don't feel like I have to do anything, and when you don't feel like you have to do anything, you end up doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I let your cat pickle lick cream cheese off of my fingers. Your cat taco does the same. It's a little game we play when you're away. I let them do
Nice.
Woohoo! Yacht, cat rock. Is there subject matter that you find yourself revisiting again and again?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's things that pop up all the time against my will or better judgment.
Kind of your material.
Yeah. Religion pops up all the time. I mean, like my friends that know me well just laugh every time that a new song comes out that has another Jesus reference in it.
And is that because you like Jesus, or you mock Jesus, or the figure of Jesus is kind of a funny trope?
I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
And I find the idea of Christianity absurd. I think it's an absurd thing. I don't dislike Christians. I just think the ideas that they believe are wrong. Like, it's like I don't dislike people for thinking that. I just think it's a wrong idea.
I mean, Jesus as a character is not necessarily Christianity.
Jesus as a character had lots of really good ideas and lots of bad ideas. Like if you read the New Testament, and I've actually I read the Bible cover to cover 3 times in my life.
Under duress?
No. Just like as an adult who was not religious, I kind of just wanted to actually know. I found that most Christians actually don't know what the Bible says. They have a couple of verses that they live by, but they actually don't know what the whole rest of the Bible says. And if you read the whole thing as a whole, there's a lot of really bad ideas in there. Slavery being one of them.
Right.
The Bible completely condones slavery.
Right.
So anyway, that pops up in my songwriting all the time. I mean,
yeah. I was just thinking, because you were saying Jesus, and I'm like, well, Jesus is a character. What is Jesus's identity in a Joe Rut song, or is it constantly changing?
Oh, it's constantly shifting. He serves all kinds of tragic and comic purposes.
Yeah, so choosing to go away from that, having been raised with it, that definitely is going to be something that's going to...
And if I had my way, I would never do another religious reference in any of my songs. And it's impossible for me. I start writing a song and all of a sudden, oh, there's a new take on it. And it just, all these religious metaphors. Like when that stuff was instilled in you as a child, it's just in there. It's part of your nervous system.
It's not so present for me now, but at different times in my life, I'm like, wow, all this stuff just really coming up, even though it's like I've never really, as an adult, embraced this.
Yeah.
Not that I'm embracing it. It's just more like the archetypes are a certain felt sense of coming from that lineage. And that's just a whole other thing. And I think if you're really allowing yourself to be open to your creative channel, stuff comes up in a different way than when you're kind of more day-to-day.
I think the idea of Jesus as an archetype has definitely popped up in some of my psychedelic experiences. Like probably not like when I'm writing songs in a normal headspace, but I've definitely come across religious imagery, when doing psychedelics.
So I'm just asking because when I was more having trippy experiences, I wasn't tripping on drugs, but I was kind of tripping on tons of yoga in a different country. So I was in a different state, and I was kind of like, okay, this is really a trip. And then having not so much the psychedelic experience, but I feel like there's a lot of parallels, psychedelia and maybe spiritual experience.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a whole other terrain of what is that?
Yeah. Okay, here's a brief primer on Joe's view of the world.
This is good. We want to go there.
So I personally believe that material is all there is. I don't believe in a greater spirit or anything. That's just my personal view. And I believe that consciousness is a phenomenon of matter, that it's an emergent property. Like once you get matter in a certain way, consciousness just emerges from it. And that consciousness has so many different ways of being that are possible. I think the psychedelic experience is one that will really show you that, oh my God, there's so many different ways of experiencing this reality.
Right.
But yeah, there's all kinds of ways to get there. Yoga that you mentioned, holotropic breath work.
Yeah.
There's lots of tools that can put you in a different, state of consciousness.
Sailing.
Your subjective experience of those states of consciousness is that, wow, there's something much vaster out there. I mean, I've had experiences where, oh boy, it sure seems like there's something much greater spiritual out there. But in examining those things later, I really think it's just that those experiences are a phenomenon formed by matter. that's kind of where I've come to.
Yeah,
and
you know, honestly,
there's
to
a
me,
million different ways to,
it's an
see
experience,
it. Yeah,
which is in and of itself, to me, kind of like enough. Like, if you have that experience.
Oh, but the experiences are amazing.
That kind of helps us get back to the brain space of creating.
Yeah.
And choosing what to make matter. Instead of choosing a song, what to take down the road is what you're choosing to make material.
Right, yeah. So you asked just a little while ago, I kind of got off on a tangent there. Are there specific things that I choose to write about? And the answer is no.
Okay.
I have never once in my life chosen to write about anything. I've never said, I want to write a song about Bill Clinton, or I want to write a song about helicopters. I just try to put myself in a space where I'm observing what's going on in my consciousness, and things pop up, and they either grab my attention or they don't.
Right.
This is kind of an homage of sorts to Bruce Springsteen songs, because when he would do car songs, like he always, not always, but he would get the details on, like the car is wrong in his songs. Like he would talk about, like options on a car that didn't exist in that year. So you actually can't get a 69 Dodge with a Hemi with factory AC or a 3-speed on the floor. But if, like, the boss can do it, I can do it.
Oh, I shit you not. She drove it twice a week. The church and to the grocery store. Only had 1,000 original miles on the day they rolled it out the door. It had factory air conditioning and a 3-speed on the floor. And you ask me why I never go to church. You ask me why I never go to church. You ask me why I never go to church no more. Woo!
So you're not choosing, you're noticing.
Yeah.
But you're not also censoring it and going, oh, I don't want to do that. You're going with it.
So I used to self-censor all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I would just cut ideas, just chop them into bits before they had a chance to form.
Mm-hmm.
And then I joined a group that I was in for a few years, a songwriting group called the Emergent Composition Society.
Oh, fun.
We would get together, I think once a month, kind of was
Mm-hmm.
average, and you would choose a Saturday. Each person would spend the whole Saturday by themselves. So like you would wake up, and between the time you wake up and the meeting, which was at 9 o'clock maybe, or 8 o'clock or something, you would write and record as many complete songs as possible.
Oh, that's super.
And the goal was to write and record 10
In a day.
in a day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so the purpose of that exercise, at least for me, I think it was for most people, but for me anyway, the purpose is to just stop censoring yourself and just write stupid shit. Like if you go, oh, this is totally dumb, write it. Let it be totally dumb. And I was amazed that half of the ones that I thought were the throwaway songs were the ones people would react to and just go, oh, that's amazing.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I would have thrown that idea away the second I thought of it if I didn't have this 10 songs I had to get done by a certain deadline. And so that was maybe around 2000. Maybe it was a little later than that. I'm not sure. 2010. Man, time is so weird for me. Is it 2000 or 2010? I don't know.
It doesn't matter, but it's
Somewhere
a while ago,
back then.
yeah.
But ever since then, I don't know if I've trained myself or if that experience trained me, but I don't censor myself anymore on the output stage. I censor myself after it's done. I go, that one sucks.
Uh-huh.
Most-
Sometimes there's songs to sing that maybe it's just your thing to sing, but it's not necessary for that many people or something.
Yeah. Well, part of the songwriting thing for me is finding your people, maybe. And so, like, rather than saying, oh, what do these people want to hear, I'd rather sing something that 80% of the room hates, but 20% loves.
Uh-huh.
I would rather get 20%, or even like 95 and 5, you know, or 99 and 1. I would rather have a smaller percentage really get it and be excited by it than have something that everybody can relate to. And yeah, that's just something, you know, like I used to really worry about, oh, some people aren't going to like this. Partly from that ICS experience, the Emergent Composition Society, that's part of what it taught me too. It's like you'd think everybody would know this, you know, just innately, but, you know, don't try to please everybody.
Everybody has a different strength of will about that.
Oh, I had to learn that. Like, I always wanted to please people with what I was doing. And you still do. I mean, like, I don't want people to come to my show and have a horrible time, you know.
Right.
But I'm definitely going to do some songs in my set that are for me. And I'm going to do some songs that are for you.
Words would tumble from her mouth like clowns escaping from a clown car, with a voice like wildflowers growing in a burn scar, and 1,000 miles stare over off to where her dreams are. Always over some horizon, there's a sky so blue. Is it so surprising? It's where my dreams are too. I take the time I've stolen, I keep the wheels rolling, and they disappear and do. She never paid no heed to scripture. place so long that she became a fixture. And she knew not to spoil the sunset by trying to take its picture. Dropping over that horizon in the sky so blue, there's things that you can't buy, they can just be given to. But I take the time I've stolen, I keep the wheels rolling, they disappear and do. She's gone with the daylight, but I still see her eyes on dark nights. But like disappearing daylights, they fade away. Sat by a hole out in this desert, I'm told they pulled some gold from. There's nothing there but echoes now, and I watch the wildflowers sway. You live long enough, they say you gain perspective. I used to think my dreams were small, now I just think they're far away. Over some horizon, there's a sky so blue. Is it so surprising that that's where I'm heading to? I take the time I've stolen, keep the wheels rolling in the disappearing dew, in the disappearing dew.
So I've been playing with these guys up in Sonoma. It's kind of a, for lack of a better term, it's a psychedelic rock band, opposed to my acoustic folky thing that I've been doing for the last 15 years. Yeah, it's just been really fun to play loud guitar again. So I've been trying to write songs for that configuration.
Is it a band that has a name?
We don't have a name yet. We've been having a really hard time. I've been playing with these guys for, I don't know, like 7 or 8 months, and we've been trying to find a bass player, and we just finally found, I think, our bass player like last week.
Oh, that's cool. So you're playing electric guitar?
Yeah.
Did that come of just getting together to start to play and enjoying it?
Well, I love psychedelic rock. That's kind of my go-to space when I'm not doing the folky thing. I've been wanting to do a psychedelic rock band for years, and most people I know aren't really interested in psychedelic rock. They're just like, you know. So I actually stuck an ad in Craigslist and said, here's the bands I'm into. And
what bands are you into?
Oh, well, I mean, for that ad, God, what did I put on there? Like the Grateful Dead, the Meat Puppets, Guided by Voices. Those are the big three.
Yeah.
Which kind of all approach psychedelia from a different angle. You know, they don't necessarily have much in common other than
Joe Rut.
that they're other than that I see a psychedelic bent in all of their like just the way they write, the things they talk about, the wordplay, the music. There's just something about all three of those bands that screams psychedelia to me. I mean, the Grateful Dead, clearly psychedelic, kind of synonymous with psychedelic rock. The Meat Puppets, definitely kind of a psychedelic cowpunk band. They were very into mushrooms and stuff. I don't know much about Guided by Voices, the guys in it, to know if they were doing psychedelic drugs, but their music screams these guys were doing psychedelic drugs when I listened to it.
Is there anything that's interesting to you right now, other than the psychedelics that you just...
Who have I been listening to a lot? Well, I mean, some of my go-tos would be John Prine, Todd Snyder, Loudon Wainwright, like in the folkier side, in the poppier side, like maybe Elvis Costello is a big influence, love him a lot.
All those folks are really prolific too.
Yeah, they've got so much material to do. It's amazing to me. The quality output of those cats is just kind of astounding.
Yeah. Are you the main writer for the psychedelic band then?
We all bring ideas in. I mean,
that's cool.
So far, anything that has lyrics, I've written the lyrics for, which isn't necessarily what it'll keep being, but the guys I'm playing with all have great ideas. It's different from how I normally write. We get together and we pretty much jam for 4 or 5 hours. We record the whole thing, and then I go back and I listen to the whole thing and I find the parts that I think are interesting, because it's just completely improvised. And then I just go back through and I go, oh, that's a cool riff. And I, take out that little 30-second snippet. And so I'll start putting that stuff together. Sometimes I'll make a demo. And then I'll come back in, and then the other guys, Matt and Thomas, will have other ideas. They'll go, hey, maybe this should do this here. So all three of us are kind of involved in the process. The first time we got together to play, there was a package of expired bison meat in the fridge. So Matt thought we should call ourselves Expired Bison, but I think we're gonna keep looking.
We drove all day as the trees and lakes out across the salt flats where everything bakes. 103 degrees, that kind of heat will bring you to your knees. Gotta keep on, gotta keep on. No surrender. Driving till dawn. I've got your back, you've got the sun right in your face, spinning wheels through time and space. The sun grows strong, the days stretch long, rolling down the highway to get to the next song. The canyons deep and the walls are sheer. Something you said ringing in my ear. The waves of heat on, gotta keep on, no surrender.
Joe Rut, it's so good to have you on the boat.
This was a pleasure.
Awesome.
A pleasure among pleasures.
Yay!
Yeah, this was a fantastic day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Deborah,
Good
you
stuff.
did a
Thanks so much
fantastic
for-
interview. Way to go.
Captain Kwame.
Thank you very much.
We love the Bay!
Should I not look at the camera?